As Greg mentioned, yeah, I've been in the industry for a long time. So want to discuss a little bit the market trends. CMHC, about a week and a half ago, came out with they readjusted their summer forecast, where they're pretty much downgraded the busyness of the rest of the year. And I'm going to read some of this, so I apologize. But they stated that the reasons why they've downgraded, and again, they said it's going to expect a slow economic growth, weak housing demand, declining home prices, lower housing starts, easing rental markets in 2026. But they did say the market condition will improve in 2027, right? Sorry, let me back up. So they stated that there's a few reasons for the stagnant businesses. One, slow population growth, the higher interest rates, and there's somebody down south that always taxes us or tariffs us, right? And that's all uncertainty. And the markets, financial markets, housing markets, hate uncertainty, right? So that has sort of cooled out the market quite a bit, but hopefully things get settled out. And then one of the big things right now for Canada is that CUSMA agreement that wasn't signed. But because that trade agreement that he put in when he was in 2016, they're going to do it every year. So that puts a damper in the Canadian economy, and that affects everything, right? Okay, but I would want to talk more about how myself or your broker can help your business, right? When I work with an agent, like Kevin and Greg, we're a team, right? Where if I have the opportunity to earn their business, I'm going to treat it like my business. Where if the client, when I get a client, Alan, give them a call, the last thing I want is Kevin to say, hey, Alan, have you called Joe Smith? Right? We're ready to go. It's taken care of. Because you're the biggest cog in the wheel of this real estate transaction, right? I'm important, but you're very important in this transaction, right? So if we work together as a team where hey, once the mortgage is passed on, the name has been passed on to Alan, that everything is going to be good. And how do I do that? Is being available. Availability is I think, really a key to a good, successful relationship with your broker, right? Are they available? Are they there to answer your questions, right? Those different aspects of your relationship with your broker, and it doesn't have to be me, right? You just got to make sure, are they responsible, are reliable, are they receptive to calling your client on a Saturday, Sunday? Because, I know some brokers that don't take calls on the weekend, which is strange, right? So if you're working, I got to work, right? If it's the weekend or if it's a weeknight, right? We work together as a team, right? And I think that's imperative because financing is one of the key obstacles right now, especially in this type of market in this type of market, you want to make sure your clients are pre-approved. She told me that they were pre-approved for about $1 million, okay? And they were ready to go, looked at three or four places that met their goal. But unfortunately, they never wrote. They never put pen to paper. Love this guy, okay, because you don't want to be too pushy sometimes, right? They never wrote, and it always confused my friend, the agent. And finally, they actually talked to me. Finally, and it was about 2.5, 3 weeks where they saw multiple places what met all their criteria for this property. So it took me about 15 minutes to talk to the wife, and I figured out why they didn't write. Okay, is because the wife was on contract with SFU. just started, not a continual contract, so it was renewed every year. And because we don't have a track record, lenders, institutions generally don't take a look at that, right? So I redid it, and the approval purchase price went from like $1 million to $650, right? So that agent spent 2.5, or probably longer, because all that legwork, to find the properties for the client that actually they couldn't afford, right? So I'm here to ensure that even if they are pre-approved, so those clients end up buying I think they bought a townhouse. Okay, so it worked out, but it wasn't the single family they were looking for. Okay, so I think having that second opinion will help the situation, right? Go ahead.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have pushback from people not wanting to use a mortgage broker.
Okay.
So for example, you mentioned RBC. Let's just say they qualified for $500,000 with RBC, and I try and convince them to use a mortgage broker because you have more products than just an RBC product. But they'll often push back, no, I'm pre-approved, I just want to stay with them, because they're afraid of your fees. And so I have heard that the lender pays the fees, and then there's other times when there's B lenders where, in fact, the client pays the fees. Can you please talk a bit about that?
That's a great question. Yes. If it's an institutional financing where I'm going to the banks, a monoline where I'm not going private or alternative, okay, and I'll touch that in a little bit, the institution compensates me.
So if they could get a $500,000 mortgage with RBC, it would not cost them anything. It would be the exact same transaction if they used you.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The only time I would charge a fee is if we're doing private financing, right? So because the privates don't compensate me, right? And I let them know up front, right? And to that point is even when they are pre-approved, I think it's important to even get me to talk to them, right? Because all I can confirm is, yeah, you know what, they're ready to go with RBC, because sometimes RBC has a better rate, right? Because different lenders in this broad spectrum have specials, right? Maybe they're a little more bigger appetite for business, right? They're getting offers a little bit better interest rate, or it's a quick closing special, right? But the big thing is I've always give the clients, sound advice. Like if I can't beat it, I'll tell them. I say, stick with RBC. They're treating you well. I did one maybe 6 months ago where they were pre-approved with BMO when BMO wasn't in the business yet. And I said, just stick with BMO. They're giving you a really good interest rate. They're treating you fair. Although I'm fine with it because she trusts me. I walked her through the process because she didn't like the BMO rep giving her advice. So I just kept giving her advice. I didn't get the business, but I just helped her through the transaction. And she sent me a Starbucks card, right? Pretty cool, pretty good deal, right? So you want to work with a broker that gives them good sound advice, not something that's always transactional. When I started, I always thought I'll do this as long as I can. So it's a business where it's going to be not just Mr. or Mrs. Smith for one transaction. It'll be for as long as they have kids, right? So in my business now, I'm at the point where I've done mortgages for the parents. And say how old I am for the parents, and now they're referring me their kids, right? And that's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal because you don't really got to sell yourself. You're giving them good value, good service, and how the broker provides the good value is they got to be good at what they do, a really good communicator, okay, and not just communicating with the client, but communicating with the agent as well, right? Because as soon as I get a introduction, I would always want to make sure, hey, Greg, I spoke to John, right? And we started the process. We'll let you know as soon as things come to fruition, right? And this probably is, you've probably heard this before, but I think just having the, bring it up to the forefront, because the broker can save the deal or they can give you deals, right? Because the save the deal, I just did one where the client, they were I don't say wishy-washy, I'm the money guy. Maybe it's a little bit above what they're comfortable with. So they told me, I let the agent know, right? Because we work as a team, and the agent just smoothed everything out, right? So it was on the borderline, but they were able to finish it, right? And then the other part is the broker that you work with. Like for me, I always reciprocate business, right? I always try to look for business and bring business back. So I think that's important. Last example is I did a project with an agent back in 04, Old Orchard Lane in Metrotown, Burnaby there, right? And so I did that project, and we did financing. I did financing for a client. She paid it off in like 15 years, but I always keep in touch, with just an email touch. And 4 months ago, remember I did this with her financing in like 04, 05. So when I was at TD Bank. So she contacted me, and she wanted to sell and buy, and got her all set up. And I asked about, okay, what do you want to do? How's your setup with your agent? She says, oh, I'm just interviewing, right? I said, you know what? It's okay. I got the agent for you, right? So I got the agent. I passed it on to Min. They worked it out, and we got him a deal, right? So that's like 20 years though, right? Like I did it for her 20 years ago. She came back to me because she valued what I did, right? And I was able to look for business because we are hunters, right? We hunt for business. So I was able to hand off to an agent, right? So I think that's important. Having an agent that you work with can reciprocate some business. And that's what I would do.